Thank you for joining us on the New Bridge Radio Show. You can also catch us online at newbridgeradio.com. Find us on Facebook under New Bridge Radio Show or follow us on Twitter at New Bridge Radio. Now let's connect you with what's next.
Welcome back to the New Bridge Radio Show on WLTK-DB Let's Talk. I am your host, Kevin Mackey, and we are connecting you to what's next in your life. And we're here to remind you that you are important to this world, and we sure are glad to have you along on this episode of the New Bridge Radio Show. Remember, if you would like to get in touch with the New Bridge Radio Show, you can always email us. Our email address is thenewbridgeradioshow@gmail.com. Drop us a line because we love hearing from you. We love knowing what you like about the show, and we sometimes like knowing what you hate about it. But please drop us a line if you are someone that has connected to what's next in your life, because we could invite you as our guest on the New Bridge Radio Show. Also, if you would like to schedule a distant Reiki session or an intuitive reading with me, you can do so at my website, which is www.limestreetwellness.com. That's www.limestreetwellness.com to book a distant Reiki session or an intuitive reading. And if you use the promo code BRIDGE, you can get 15% off of your session. Well, tonight we have a real treat for you. We're lucky to have a real radio pro on the New Bridge Radio Show. It's Dr. Craig E Wright, PhD. He is here to talk about the wisdom and knowledge of numerology. And there is so much here that we are going to learn during this interview, and it's all fascinating. Dr. Wright hails from the great city of Baltimore, Maryland. He holds degrees in both psychology and metaphysics. He is an expert in numerology and has been a trusted advisor both nationally and internationally. He has been our guest before on the New Bridge Radio Show, and how lucky are we to have him here on 11/11/22, a numerology day. Also, today is Veterans Day, and we would like to thank all of our veterans out there that might be listening. We really appreciate all that you have done, and we appreciate you listening to the show. Good evening, Dr. Wright. I can't tell you how lucky I feel to have you on our show this fine 11/11 evening. I'm wondering, when you woke up this morning on 11/11/22, what were your thoughts?
Well, as a numerologist, the number 11 is very, very reverent in our community. It's a symbol for light, wisdom. So this is a day of hope, a day of light, a day of truth. As a biblical numerologist, the word light comes into play on the second day of creation, separation of light from darkness. This was before there was sun, moon, and stars. So this light is spiritual, is a spiritual light of truth and hope and love. And that's the light of the world.
Exactly. You know what? The great thing is, last time you were here, we learned a bit about master numbers. And you took my name, Kevin Mackey, and you found that my life path was a life path 11. And I thought, wow, that's fascinating. So here we have 11/11, which are two master numbers. And I think we would probably be surprised at how many life path 11s actually listen to the New Bridge Radio Show. Tell us just a bit about what a master number is and what they mean.
I certainly. Master numbers are testing numbers. They are numbers that will bring more challenges, tests, obstacles, if you will. But I like to think of them as opportunities for growth.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like an investment. The higher the risk, the greater the rate of return. So, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of master numbers, um, if you have a master number, you're going to have special challenges in your life, especially the number 11. The 11 is here an example, to be an example for others. So, what does this mean? To help to a higher standard. So, Kevin, if you have brothers and sisters and all of you guys decided to hit the cookie jar when mom and dad went out, when they came home, they would only smell cookies on your breath because
Right.
the number 11 is held to a higher standard. So it's called the master teacher and the master of revelation. The 22 is called the master builder. Two threes, master healer, and someone who is here to be of universal service. 44 is called the master liberator, um, master of truth, and the prophet, the number 44. 55 is master of divine will. 66, master of universal joy. 77, master of creative thought. 88, master of divine knowing. And 99, master of universal love. Um, you mentioned that I would be surprised how many 11s listen to this show. Well, the 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 truth of the matter is 11 is a symbol for an energy or a vibration. So this is a vibration that you are sending forth. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would be surprised if there weren't 11s responding to that energy, because we vibrate to who we are, or as they say, your vibe is your tribe.
Oh, very, very, very nice. So I know. Does this happen to you as well, Dr. Wright? I know from talking to you before in an interview that your life path number is 7. Do you find you attract a lot of sevens as well?
Uh, yes, I do. And what I find is it's a guidepost. There are always options, forks in the road. Um, but the more time I spend being centered and focused and receiving before I act, I'm guided toward light energy.
Hmm.
That's why they say, seek the kingdom and all else is added unto you. It's through the stillness. Most people are ripping and running and racing, chasing things. Even if they get them, they're not satisfied once they do. When the
Hmm.
key is to turn within and get in harmony with what's already promised to us.
Exactly. So you wrote a book called It All Adds Up, and in your book, it was interesting how you kind of came to a point in your life where you connected, where you started to question, and you were already going to school as an engineer and dealing with math and mathematics. Tell us a little bit about how you suddenly came to realize that numerology, there was just something to it. Tell us a little bit about that story because it's fascinating.
Yes, yes. When I was in seventh grade, I got excellent grades in math and science, and my parents decided we're going to have an engineer in the family. So at that age, you can't make decisions on your own, right? So
Right. Right.
math and science, they started to prepare me in um, summer school to give me the best opportunities to succeed as an engineer. So I bought in, I was drinking the Kool-Aid uh, up until age 21. And my intent was to become a pilot, fly aircraft in the Navy. But at age 21, Kevin, the guy who was my best friend died from a drug overdose. And I wasn't even aware he was using.
Hmm.
So it taught me how I really wasn't paying attention to anyone around me. I was too self absorbed. I came away from that experience feeling like I should have been able to do something to save my friend, and also questioning my very existence. If life was going to be so arbitrary, this stuff only happened to people on TV, not in real life. But if life is going to be so arbitrary, why was I here? What was the whole purpose of it? If you could be here today and just be gone like that. So through that state of yearning, Kevin, I heard a song. I heard a song on the radio by an author, a guy named Roy Ayers, and the song was called "In Search of the Third Eye." But what intrigued me were the lyrics. I'm listening to my favorite jazz station, 88.9 at Morgan State University Radio, and this guy is saying, secrets of wisdom, secrets of knowledge, secrets of numbers, secrets of sound. You can find them. And I wanted answers. So I was intrigued by the song. It took me maybe a couple years to finally find it. There was no internet. This was in 76. No internet, no Amazon. So it took me a while. But when I finally got my hands on it, the guy who wrote the song had read a book by Vera Stanley Alder called In Search of the Third Eye. I started my search for that book. When I finally found it, or I should say, when it found me, because I walked in the bookstore one day and there it was on a shelf. I started reading about the difference between figures and numbers. I had no idea. I was very good with figures. For example, if you hold up a bottle of water and say, I have one bottle, that's a figure. But if I look closer and I say, Deer Park is number one, I'm no longer talking about a quantity, but a quality of being the best. And that turned everything around. I was already aware of numbers, but getting that look on the other side, the spiritual significance and the spiritual meaning, as I just went through the meaning of the master numbers, everyone knows what it means to be number one, but two stands for patience, cooperation. If Adam is one and Eve was two, it stands for three. That's three is children. It's also expression, youth. It's the number of the entertainer. You can't have kids running around, so you have to put them in a playpen. That's the four-sided figure. That's orderliness. That's order, work in order. When they're there, you can finally get some work done because there's order. But you can't leave them there. You have to take them out for some freedom. That's the number 5. Travel, adventure, exercise, having experiences. But too much freedom leads to anarchy. So 6 is responsibility. Being responsible. Once we exhibit responsibility, we can rest. That's the 7. In stillness, we heed the inner voice. And in seeking the kingdom, all else is added unto us. That's the number 8. And once we satiated our personal desires for material things, the number 9 is we begin to give things away. That's the ultimate. 9 stands for selfless giving, love, and philanthropy. And that's it. There's only 9 vibrations. The master numbers are 11 is just a higher 2. 33 is a 6. After the number 9, there's nothing new. So it's pretty succinct, pretty simple. Been around some 4,000 years. It was actually taught in the Egyptian mystery schools and in the temples, in the Egyptian mystery schools, to such notables as Moses, who wrote the 4th book of the Bible called Numbers, Pythagoras, who we all remember from high school, and even Jesus studied there and continued the practice of name changes during his ministry.
Well, so what about 0? What
In the beginning, it's a symbol for God. So if someone calls you a 0, you can say thanks.
Thanks. I appreciate the compliment.
When it shows up in a birthday, like the 10th, the 20th, or the 30th, it means the force is with you. Your prayers will always be answered. but it also means you're going to face situations. The only way through them is to use the force, that intuitive guidance to find your way through.
You know what? When we had you on last time, I told you my birthday. That's why I remember the zero, because my birthday is 10/4/68. And when you told me that about the zero meaning the beginning, it's really the presence of God in in your day of birth and path. I was like, oh wow, that is exciting.
Yes, the birthday symbolizes our gifts. Like the prophet Jeremiah, we have a contract with the Creator. The birthday of the gifts, the name is our part of the contract, how we promise to use the gift. So when the 10 shows up, you've been given the gift of leadership and the gift of resiliency, the ability to start over and regenerate and continue to start over as many times as necessary. That's the number 10, and the universe will provide you with the resources to do so. The 4 is discipline and self reliance. You don't need anyone standing over your shoulder telling you what to do. It comes from within. Also makes you good with numbers too. The number 4.
Sometimes.
The 4 symbolizes a window through which we look through to see the future and how to make it better. Um, the 4 also is the number of physical manifestation. So you will be given the gift to have the talent, skills, and abilities to manifest your dreams, to bring them into reality. Your year is a 6, which is the number of service. The 24, 1968 is 24, which makes you one of the greatest souls among us. And that's where
Oh,
your 11 comes from. 10, 4, and 24, 38. And that's the number of the visionary, the avatar. So your dreams foretell the future.
yes. But you know what's interesting about what you just said about numbers. So, I've never really been super duper good at math, but what I have noticed is what I am good at is retaining a number in memory. And I work for a phone company, and sometimes that skill comes in really, really handy. Is being able to see a number, and for some unknown reason, later on I can always recall it and say, "Oh, this was the number."
Wow,
And so maybe that's why I have that little tiny skill that I value so much in my job at times. Oh yeah, I
yeah,
remember you. You're area code 617.
blow their minds, right? Wow, how do you
Mhm.
do that?
Exactly. Exactly. So the other thing that I find interesting that you just mentioned is that not only do our birthdays tell us a lot about our character, our personality, but also uh, our names do as well, don't they?
Yes, the name pretty much it's called the destiny number.
Hmm.
And that's something that's worked out over time. I like to think of the birthday as the toolbox,
Hmm.
and the name is the blueprint. Okay, the name is the blueprint, what you came here to do with those tools.
Hmm.
So the 11 means you're the light. You're the master number 11 is you're here to reveal, to illuminate. The 2, the base number, 1 and 1 is 2, is connecting, bringing people together, hence the bridge. Okay, so as Kevin, which is the number 7, you decide to become the light through research, study, analysis, and becoming an expert in your field. You also, I don't know if you're doing this, but the 7 means you promise to write and to share what you write, not to put it away or hide it away or think. they're not ready for this.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I don't know if, well, most 11s write because they have to, not because they want to. But the question is, will you keep your promise to share what you're writing with others? You had your name indicates a past lifetime as a scribe, where you could not share what you wrote, what you copied as a human photocopy machine. Hence, another reason for the good memory. uh,
Right.
a little carryover. But now you're here to express, to share that wisdom, that knowledge, everything you glean from all the law books and the religious writings and the sacred texts that you made copies of that you couldn't utter a word of, but you retain that wisdom. So now it's time to share that and to like release it and to share that and to deliver inspired messages to uplift, which is what you do.
Hmm. I know there's a certain individual that's probably rolling on the ground laughing because they always say that to me. Why aren't you writing?
Wow, that's part of your. It's the vowel total, the E and the N as up to 14. That's the ancient symbol for a scribe, and because it's in your name, it's your blueprint. It's what you came here to do. So many 11s they have writings on the back of old scraps of paper or envelopes. So it's just a matter of collecting those things, and before you know it, the book is there. But I can tell you this: if you decide to write, and you have free will, we
Right.
have free will. If you decide to do it, the letter V in Kevin indicates it can do very well on the screen as a movie or in some visual modem. There's so many now. I used to tell my clients on the big screen. Now there's YouTube.
Right.
There's so
Right.
many.
You don't really need to be a movie producer, movie star.
Really, they got cameras now. You can do your own. But yeah, the V indicates it would do well on the big screen. What you have to write, the story you have to tell, would be received universally.
Mhm. So I find that interesting that that there is this, and I what is interesting is I feel like that is absolutely true, which makes me trust numerology quite a bit because I do know that I have that ability, and I and sometimes it feels like okay, I know I could just do it. But I feel like there's just the inspiration hasn't come yet to make this thing happen, and that it eventually will come. Uh, I, I, my friend that always teases me about why am I not writing. I have tons of books, like you just said, notebooks that are full of writing, but it's just me writing to myself because, like you said, it's something that I feel I have to do, that I'm compelled to do, and that I do on a basis. Like I've been a journalist, been writing in a journal since I was really young, and it's interesting to go back and look at those journals and think, wow.
Yes, yes. So the reason why I was able to kind of know that because the studies say the 11 is God's antenna. Remember rabbit ears on top of the TV?
Hmm.
The number 11 is God's antenna. So you can pick up emanations the rest of us aren't even aware of and translate them into a form that the rest of us can understand. So, yes, you've been the channel, but the wisdom that the writings contain is the light that I referred to earlier. The word light is the number 11. So you are receiving light, just taking dictation for the universe. And It's meant to be shared. The letter V is a 20. Hopefully, I get a little motivation going here. The letter V is the 22nd letter of the alphabet. And I mentioned the letter V because it's the 22nd. In the 22, the word film is a number 22. But even greater than that is the name Mackie, which is a number 22. The letters add up to 22. M is the 13th letter. It's a 4. A and C are already single digits. 1 and 3 is 4. So we got 8 so far. K is the 11th. 1 and 1 is 2. So now we have 10. E is the 5th. That's 15. Y is the 25th. We add 2 plus 5 to get 7. 15 and 7 is 22. The number 22 is what puts what you write on the big screen.
That's interesting.
And it goes global. Sort of like, I don't know, maybe Potter, who's this Potter guy who somebody wrote a book about and all of a sudden became a movie and everybody's watching it, all around the globe, being translated in different languages. Now, I don't know what you've written, but the potential is in the name. And the name is what you promised to do. So hopefully, and I mean this with all honor and due respect, I just told my story, what prompted me to do what I needed to start doing. I lost my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait.
Absolutely.
It's going to be more fun when you can share it with them.
Absolutely. That is the great. Thank you for that, because that is motivation to seek it out and actually do it. So,
That's what 4 gives you the follow through.
so in your book, you also mentioned that our name and our birthday tell us what we're here for, but it also tells us what weaknesses we have as well. So,
Yes, they do.
what
There are things called challenges,
mhm.
and challenges are found by using your birthday. And I'll use mine as an example. I'm born May the 4th, 1951. So first you turn it into single digits, 5, 4, 7. 1951 adds up to 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. So my birthday in single digits is 5, 4, 7. Challenges are found by subtracting. So first you subtract month and day, whichever is larger, doesn't matter. In my case, I subtract 4 from 5. So my first challenge is the number 1, to be a leader, to have the courage to be innovative enough to get in front of people and talk about something that most people have never even heard about, to follow that inner voice, leadership. And pretty much all my life, I've been self-employed. I worked for small stints for other people, but never long. So when the number 1 challenge shows up, and this would be for anyone, when you subtract your month from your day, August the 9th, September the 8th, July the 6th, if there's a 1 count between your month and day, as it was for me, May the 4th, you have a number 1 challenge. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In your case, October the 4th, right? We add 1 plus 0. So that will be a 1 and a 4. 1 from 4 is 3. Your challenge is to express yourself. 3 stands for expression. Singing, painting, dancing, using your words, having a show, writing. That's your challenge. So you're meeting, you see, meeting that challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Your year is a 6. So if we subtract 4 from 6, your day from the year is a number 2. The number 2. That's the challenge of working in partnership and harmony and cooperation with others.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A lot of times, that's also a challenge of confidence in yourself. because the 2 is a balancer and wants harmony and will try to bring peace and harmony in others into any situation. And the 2 is more likely to yield to bring about that peace as opposed to moving forward with their own agenda. So the
That
2's are,
makes a lot of sense.
2's are diplomats, they're politicians, you know. And as a number 11, you may vacillate between the 2. There may be times when you are on fire, when your hand is just running as fast as it can, and you're just like, thank you. And then there's other times, you're like, no, close the door. I don't want to be bothered. That's because the 2 gives you a sensitivity toward spiritual things. A lot of times you just can't deal with people. It's like chalk on a blackboard. So we
That
have
is
the
true.
3, the 3, then the 2. The next challenge is found by subtracting those 2. So you have a number 1 challenge, same that I had the number 1, which is leadership, being an entrepreneur, standing on your own, being willing to put forth your own agenda. So I've developed my own classes now, my own workshops that I'm sharing with different groups, people who are looking for mentors, um, doing a lot of self-concept work with what I do. And I know that because a number 1 challenge shows up with you, you also can be like a one-man band, a one-man enterprise, um, because you have that number 1 challenge to stand up and do so. So does that mean the universe will hand you the baton and say, here, and see if you'll run with it? that's how that's how I translate all that metaphysical talk. Let me bring it down to earth. The universe says here. So we have the 10, and your year is the 6. That's the final challenge. 1 from 6 is 5. And that's the challenge, to step out on faith, not to worry about working 9 to 5, be ready to travel, and to put forth new ideas and new concepts. That's the 5, to get out there and rock the boat. So
That makes a lot
those,
of sense.
when you know your challenges, they're no longer weaknesses. You turn those stumbling blocks into stepping stones. Okay, so instead of trying, when they say, who wants to lead, who wants to drive, instead of jumping in the passenger seat and letting someone else drive off the road, to take the wheel.
Hmm. Hmm.
When someone says, okay, I have an opportunity, but I need you to travel here, that's it's time to get up and go. That's opportunities will be in movement and travel for you, not waiting and sitting still, but being willing to be a risk taker. That's the 5 challenge. So
Uh,
they become a light on the path.
you know what? That makes so much sense to me too. That is absolutely true. uh, I've been doing a mentorship program most of this year
Awesome.
to be on my own and to uh, do my own creation in my own business. And
Awesome.
and it was interesting how just all of the resources that I needed seemed to just fall into place to sort of move me into this new area that I'm in now, and being able to work on my own, because I have always been a part of you know corporate America
Mm-hmm.
in some way or another, and it has been and I find this of a lot of people who have been in corporate America trying to get out. I have found that we're all kind of struggling to find the thing that brings us joy, and none of us have ever felt like, oh, this is my purpose to be here doing customer
Yeah,
service with all this.
exactly. Exactly. It's interesting that you say everything fell into place,
Mhm.
because this year matches your birth path number. You're born 10/4/68, which adds up to 38. 10 and 4 is 14. 1968 was 24, which is 38. So to find your personal year, you add your month and your day, which is 10 and 4. And this year, like your birth year, has been a number 24. So 2 plus 0 plus 22 is 24. The master number. We don't add 2 and 2 with the master number. We add 2 plus 0 plus 22 is 24. And we add that to your month and day. It's 38. So this has been your time. And next year, with the oncoming of next year, it's really going to blossom and explode. And there's going to be opportunities for partnerships and sponsorships with what you've been laying up.
That makes perfect sense. And it definitely feels this way because my little enterprise that I've started has started to really pick up. And for a little bit of time, it was like, oh no, I'm not sure I can do all of it. but it seems to
Excellent.
be, it seems to be
That's
coming
excellent.
along.
That's great. That's great. Light in the darkness. That's the number 11. So that's how the universe will utilize your energy to bring light where there is darkness. So when you're an 11, you're God's lantern. He always puts you in the darkest room he can find, not so your light will go out, but so you can illuminate the darkness. When you bring a candle into a room, the candle doesn't go out. The room lights up.
Yes, interesting. So you know, I'm kind of linked to people who are in, kind of in the same path, kind of coming around. And earlier, you heard my producer Todd, uh, you know, troubleshooting a problem there. So his name is Todd Bates, and his birthday is 2/21/1973,
Okay.
and he he kind of claims he's not an intuitive person. He'll tell you he's an intuitive. But I feel like he is an intuitive human being.
Well,
And
without a doubt, the number of intuition is the number 7. Intuition, expertise. I'm sitting here flabbergasted, not knowing what to do. He says, "Hey, just turn it off and turn it back on."
right.
He says it like it's nothing, but that's that intuition that said this will remedy the situation because of what I'm dealing with here, and the ability to calculate that so quickly, it tends to probably overlook it. But yes, the name Kevin, Kevin is a 7. The name Todd is a 7, and when you add up Todd's birth date, that was a number 7.
Interesting. So
2/21, and his years are 20.
mhm.
He's an old soul, by the way. He only has one challenge. His year and his month are the same, and that's the tip off that someone is an old soul, that they've been here many, many times before. The
That
2,
makes sense.
the number 2 shows up in his month and again in his year. Okay. His day is a 3, the 21st. 2 plus 1 is 3. So he only has one challenge because those numbers on either side are the same. So you're just subtracting 2 from 3 both times. So his only challenge is the number 1, leadership, to stand on his own, to be independent, to be his own boss. Many times when that shows up like that, I'm dealing with an individual who may have lost a parent early in life, or in some way was adopted, or had to stand on their own early in life. So he's getting younger the older he gets. when this number one energy shows up and it's so intense, he came in to be independent and not to have to lean on anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his only challenge to do so. Now, the way you experience that is people disappoint you. They tell you they're going to be there, and they're never there to show up for you. So it sounds really high idealistic metaphysically, but when we experience it, it's a whole nother ball game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you learn to stand on your own. Because anybody you lean on, you're saying, okay, they're saying, go ahead, fall. I'll catch it. Remember that trust thing when you fall back and stuff with it. Well,
Right.
once or twice, Todd did that, and they weren't there again.
They
Never
moved out of
again.
the way. That's
Never
funny.
again.
I think he would vouch for that too.
Yeah, he's very good not only on the technical side, but he's an artist. Todd's an artist. When 21 shows up, you're a writer or a singer, or he has artistic gifts. He could
Absolutely.
be on both sides of the camera, as they say,
I,
in the studio and also the performer.
mhm. Yes, I totally agree with the artist part because he loves to do graphics and illustration, and so I think that that lines up perfectly because does a really good job of it.
Yes, there's something he does that is better than anyone. That's the number one. The challenge is to find what that is and to do it.
Hmm.
And that's what's going to rocket him to the top. Like everyone's going to want it, whatever that product is he produces.
Exactly, and it's been the WLTK-DB. This station has been kind of a huge project for him, and now it's just becoming so big now.
Awesome. Awesome.
And now there's there are more shows coming on, and so it's interesting to see that in the space of time everybody is kind of going out and kind of discovering their path in this particular decade. Dr. Wright, do you find that this has been an ideal decade for people to come to Earth and kind of work out amazing things? Like, are you really hopeful for the future of this planet and humanity?
Well, Kevin, I am a child of the 60s.
Hmm.
And they say if you can remember the 60s, you really didn't participate. Right? But we used to sing a song about the age of Aquarius, a
Hmm.
time of harmony and peace and understanding. And people would call us crazy or crazy hippies.
Hmm.
But now we are in it. We are experiencing that time. We've gone from the 1900s, the number one energy, which is leadership, aggression, me, think number one. Now we're leading off with number twos, which is harmony, peace, understanding. So, yes, we opened the show. You asked me about 1111. Well, 1 and 1 is 2. And that's the harmony and peace that we are experiencing. And when you raise it to the level of the number 11, is heightened. So that becomes a 22. So now it's a global experience, which is going to transcend governments as this energy continues to rise globally and people begin to see we're more alike than different. It's going to transcend governments. And man, we're going to see some major shifts then.
You know what? I absolutely agree with that because I have become a connoisseur of TikTok. And it's a little platform where people all over the world leave movies, little 3-minute videos of all kinds of things. And what's interesting is the humanity you find in it of people doing simple things and having the whole world look at it and say, wow, that is amazing. So, that I think you're absolutely right that we now that we have communication that we've never had before, we see everything now instantaneously,
Yeah.
and and can empathize with other people that are going through struggles. We can see their struggle now. We can understand, and we can um, help in ways of not only physical resources, but thought and energy.
Energy,
Um,
thought, vibration. It's
right.
rising, and it's moving at a rapid rate. And but it's also producing, as I learned in physics class, where every action there's an equal opposite reaction. So it's producing like a resisting force of the old energy, trying to hold on. But it's inevitable. It's inevitable, but we're kind of like in this period, this struggle period right now. But the kids got it. The kids have it. So if you just listen to their conversation, I'm not worried about the future.
Right. Right, because when I'm looking at young people um, on this platform, I'm like, oh my gosh, these kids just have so much more compassion. Like these kids are like amazing. It's like what they understand and what they want for their future is like amazing. Like these kids, they don't want to do what we did. They don't want to work for a job, or those sort of things. They want to redo a van and start traveling all around the country.
Inner values. People are turning within.
Mhm. So for this next year coming up, 2023,
Hmm.
um, on my, and on the inside, I kind of feel this is going to be a super duper good year for us, for relationships. And what do you think 2023 is going to be like for not just the United States but the world?
Yes, global energy 2023. When you add the numbers up, Kevin, it adds up to a number seven. The number
Mhm.
seven, 2 plus 0 plus 2 and 3 is 7. And what we learn from every time we see the number 7 mentioned in sacred writings or numbers throughout history, 7 is associated, well, it literally means it's a straight line, which means I. Okay? I. When man first sketched the letter I in the sand, he was representing himself. Now, when that line goes to the left, it means I look back. So that's what the meaning of the 7 was. I look back. So over time, it means on the seventh, we hear on the seventh day, God rested. So the 7 means time to stop and think, analyze, look back, think about where you are, where you've been going, who you've outgrown. Many people will be going back to school because the 7 is a symbol for faith and wisdom. And there's going to be an incident like a great mystery. There's always a great mystery in the number 7 year. What happened? We have to research. We have to study. The last number 7 year was 2014. 2 plus 0 plus 1 and 4, and that's when that Malaysian flight just disappeared off of the radar with all of our
Right.
technology, and it took them months to figure out what happened to it, and really it's just a theory.
Mhm.
So expect a mysterious occurrence. But also in the 7 year, there's going to be something that slows us down and makes people turn within. The times that try our soul. So I'm expecting um, church roles and church memberships to start to go up
Oh,
in 2014. I mean, it's in 2023.
Hmm.
That's the number 7. It's a symbol for faith and wisdom. So more people go to school, more people join church, and more people start to turn within, to look within themselves, to seek higher meaning to life under the number 7. Um, we're going to see aggression sort of wind down. Um,
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
thank goodness for that. We'll see aggression sort of wind down. We're going to see the economy start to wind back down as well. Um, so, sort of just a quiet stillness, a chance for us to take a breath, to look back of what we've been going through, and also a chance, because the 7 stands for wisdom, a chance to find out a way to help our children get back on path from all the learning that they lost during the pandemic.
Mhm.
So there's going to be some new educational techniques and different forms of learning that will come about during the new year.
Mhm. I believe that too. I think the pandemic showed us that we can do a lot of things from home and not necessarily have to do, go somewhere and be in it, especially working people. We don't need to go and be in a building. And that was one nice thing that came out of that. And an event. When you said an event was going to happen, I was like, I wonder if it's a space event.
That would bring us together.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Because so we're coming close on time, but I know that there's another planet called Planet X. Have you heard of this?
where they say there could be life.
No, where they say there's another planet in our solar system.
Okay.
And I think that that would be they think it might be a gas giant. And that would certainly be a huge thing that can happen. Oh, look, we have new knowledge and we have things. Or it could be we discover something that, like one of Dolores Cannon's hypnosis subjects thought that every human is capable of uh, telepathy. Every human being is, and we have a tiny bit of it right
Yes,
now.
just the collective subconscious,
Hmm.
they call it in psychology.
And one of her little sessions, the person said, there could come a time where the telepathy is turned up to the max, and human beings can suddenly understand each other.
Yes, yes.
And
I've noticed more and more nonverbal communication,
me too. Just driving down the road, you know, you've got the car next to you, and you're like, oh, I just want to get past you and speed up a little. And then that car starts. So you're like, wait a minute, let me slow down. And then they slow down and you're like, there's
Did
something
they
going
read
on
my
there.
mind? Right.
Well, in the time we have remaining, Dr. Wright, um, uh, tell everyone how to find you, how to connect with you, so that they can find their own life path and their own weaknesses and their own strengths in their own life. Tell them where your website is and how they can get in touch with you.
Certainly. My website is my name, www.CraigEWright, CRAIG, the letter E, WRIGHT.com. And at that website, if you go to the store, you'll see the different services that I offer that we've been sharing this evening with Kevin, readings and forecasts, lots of wonderful information available to anyone who's interested.
Absolutely. I find numerology uh, so interesting in that it's an ancient wisdom that gives us so much information. And the tagline of the New Bridge Radio Show is connecting people to what's next in their life. And I love it when we can give people tools that actually can connect them to what's next, because finding
Literally.
yeah, finding out what your life path is, like just our conversation here this evening, can give you, get you off of a plateau that you may have been on, for months and years even, and on to the next thing that you came here to the earth to do.
Yes, it's very, very insightful.
Hmm.
Very, very insightful. And I found it to be a great self help tool.
Absolutely, absolutely, and very illuminating. Dr. Craig E. Wright, thank you so much for being our guest here on the New Bridge Radio Show on our
My pleasure, Kevin.
return. Our return. It's always so fascinating to speak to you, and I hope we get to cross paths again. Hopefully in the next new year, in the 7 year, where we're going to
Right,
find out all of this new stuff
right,
and
right.
all of these new ideas.
I
Uh,
like it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't thank you enough. If that is going to do it for us here on the New Bridge Radio Show. Next week we have an exciting guest coming. Her name is Leanne Wolf, and Leanne Wolf uses an ancient wisdom as well. She uses astrology to help people get out of their mundane stuff. She uses it for perfect design to determine where you need to go and what you need to do. And she is going to be absolutely fascinating. You won't want to miss next week with Leanne Wolf. And that's going to do it for us here on the New Bridge Radio Show. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.